City of Muskegon City Commission meeting for January 28, 2014. We will be led in prayer by Mr. George Monroe, followed by a brief memoriam and moment of silence, we having lost one of our Muskegon family members this week. And Dave Alexander will give the memoriam, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Monroe.
Shall we pray? Our dear Heavenly Father, again, we thank you for this opportunity, Lord, that we can gather here, Lord. We pray that you would bless our mayor, and our manager, and our commissioners, and our clerk, Lord, that you would protect them at all times, Lord. And Lord, help them as you make these decisions that might be the right ones. We'll give you all the praise in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I'm Dave Alexander, MLive Muskegon Chronicle City Hall reporter. Mayor, commissioners, staff, citizens, thank you for allowing me a moment to pay tribute to a longtime colleague of mine, Paula Holmes Greeley, who died earlier this week. Paula was a longtime Muskegon Chronicle news editor, editorial page editor, before becoming the community engagement specialist for the MLive Media Group in Muskegon. In the past 2 years, she has brought our company and this community into a new digital online age. But more importantly, Paula loved Muskegon and dedicated her professional life to make this a better community. At this difficult time, our hearts pour out to her husband Mike and their 2 sons. Before we say the Pledge of Allegiance, please join me in a moment of silence to remember Paula and her contributions to our community. Thank you.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Mr. Monroe. And our hearts and condolences due out to the Holmes Greeley family, and the community has lost a very good friend. Roll call, please.
Mayor Garwin,
Here.
Commissioner Hood,
Here.
Vice Mayor Spataro,
Here.
Commissioner German,
Here.
Commissioner Rinsema Stephenga,
Here.
Commissioner Turnquist,
Here.
Commissioner Johnson. Absent.
Thank you. May we have the consent agenda, please?
Item A is approval of minutes. Summary request is to approve minutes of the January 2nd organizational meeting, the January 13th Commission work session meeting, and the January 14th City Commission meeting. Staff recommendation is approval of the minutes. Item B is the Muskegon Fire Department equipment request for the Hearst Hydraulic SP 300E spreader, public safety. Summary of request. The Director of Public Safety requests that the Commission authorize the amount of $11,200 for one Hearst Hydraulic SP 300 E spreader package, which includes a spreader, 2 batteries, and a charger. This purchase request is to replace the aging, non-serviceable fire equipment, which is mobile and battery operated. Our current Hearst dual spreader is over 16 years old. It recently failed, causing a minor injury to a firefighter. This purchase bid was to secure the best pricing. Other vendors offering comparable equipment quoted the Hearst Jaws of Life, $11,800, and the Apollo for $11,200. The above 2 Apollo Hearst spreader purchases desired by the Muskegon Fire Department. Staff recommendation, staff recommends approval of this equipment purchase to enhance services. Item C is a permanent traffic control order to install 30-minute parking signage on First Street between Western Avenue and Morris Street, Public Works. Summary request is to authorize staff to install a 30-minute parking sign on the northeast and southwest sides of First Street between Western Avenue and Morris Street. Staff recommendation is to authorize Public Works staff to install 30-minute parking signs on the northeast and southwest sides of First Street between Western Avenue and Morris Street. Item D is rezoning request for the property located at 816 Marquette Avenue, Planning and Economic Development. Summary request. Staff initiated a request to rezone the city-owned property at 816 Marquette Avenue from R1, single-family residential, to RM1, low-density multiple-family residential. The rezoning would allow for a potential project involving multiple family housing. Staff recommendation. Staff recommends approval of the rezoning. Committee recommendation. The Planning Commission recommended approval of the request at their January 16th meeting. Item E, request for final planned unit development approval for 1885 and 1201 3rd Street, Planning and Economic Development. Summary request. Request for final PUD approval at 1185 and 1201 3rd Street. This PUD will be a part of the PUD across the street at 1144 3rd Street. This project will include moving the auto sales and repair shop, currently at 1144 3rd Street, across the street to 1185 and 1201 3rd Street, to make room for a potential new project. Staff recommendation. Staff recommends final approval of the PUD, provided that the conditions listed in the resolution are met. Committee recommendation. The Planning Commission recommended approval of the PUD at their January 16th meeting. Item F is mutual aid agreement, Muskegon Area Fire Services, Public Safety. Some request is the Director of Public Safety requests that the City Commission review and consider approving the revised Muskegon Area Fire Services Mutual Aid Agreement. The agreement was updated to provide a spirit of cooperation and a workable collaborative to share fire services within the County of Muskegon, to better serve the citizens by offering fire staff and equipment through a written agreement. Fire emergency situations at times can quickly overburden, negatively impact, or deplete a responding fire service. The mutual aid agreement would ensure a response from neighboring departments to assist a community in need. Staff recommendation. Staff recommends approval of this revised mutual aid agreement.
Thank you. Commissioners, for the consent agenda as presented, are there any items that you would like to have removed for further discussion?
Item C.
Any others? Vice Mayor?
Hearing no others, I would move that we approve the consent agenda as read, minus item C. Kathy.
Second.
It has been moved by Vice Mayor Spataro, seconded by Commissioner German, to accept the consent agenda as presented minus item C. Any discussion? Matt, roll call, please.
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Mayor Garwin,
Yes.
Commissioner Hood,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Spataro,
Yes.
Commissioner German,
Yes.
Commissioner Rinsema-Sebinga,
Yes.
Commissioner Turnquist.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve agenda item C, permanent traffic control order, install 30-minute parking signage on First Street between Western Avenue and Morris Street.
Support. It has been moved by Commissioner Rinsema-Sebinga, seconded by Commissioner Johnson, to install 30-minute parking signage on First Street between Western Avenue and Morris Street. Commissioner?
So I understand that this was at the request of post office patrons.
Correct.
I guess I'm wondering, on where in the near vicinity are there parking limits? Are there parking limits on Western Avenue?
Yeah, I think there's two-hour parking limit on Western Avenue.
Okay, so this would just be a small zone near the post office.
Yeah, it's essentially the area directly in front of the post office and directly across the street from the post office.
Okay,
And if you go there even at 7 o'clock in the morning, the spaces are essentially all taken. And it's just because the employees are mostly parking there. So this will kind of move the employees on to a more appropriate location for long-term parking.
and this will be enforced just as the other signs are
Correct.
by the enforcement officer? Okay, I have no further questions.
Got a question there. Okay, now with that parking, employees are parking there. Where were they parking before the construction started with the farmer's market?
Probably in the farmer's market parking lot.
Parking lot, okay.
Essentially where the farmer's market is now behind the post office.
So right now, they're kind of limited to parking as of right now due to construction there.
Yeah, they have a parking lot kitty corner from their location on Morris.
Okay.
And I think there have been some arrangements made where they could have some space available behind the Social Security Administration building. But it's a bit of a walk, so probably
Right.
out of convenience to park right there.
Okay,
In the street and then the parking lot directly across.
all right, thank you.
Vice Mayor?
I was just going to point out that until it's developed, there is a large parking lot across Morris Street from the post office, and employees parking there would have less distance to travel than city employees crossing Apple Avenue from the city parking lot to City Hall. So I think that's not an unreasonable distance for people to park. That's just my 2 cents. I've seen what they're talking about. It is, there are cars that are there all day long.
Yeah, they kind of get their windshield wipers standing up when they get there, so you can kind of tell they're planning on being there for a long time.
Call the question?
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hood,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Spataro,
Yes.
Commissioner German,
Yes.
Commissioner Rinsema-Seevinga,
Yes.
Commissioner Turnquist,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Mayor Garland.
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you. Now we have new business, please.
Concurrence with the Housing Board of Appeals notice and order, excuse me, to demolish 1780 Jarman Street, public safety. Summary request. This is to request that the City Commission concur with the findings of the Housing Board of Appeals that the structure located at 1780 Jarman Street is unsafe, substandard, a public nuisance, and that it be demolished within 30 days. It is further requested that administration be directed to obtain bids for the demolition of the structure and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized and directed to execute a contract for demolition with the lowest responsible bidder. Staff recommendation is to concur with the Housing Board of Appeals' decision to demolish.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Thank you. So we may begin debate. I would move that we concur with the Housing Board of Appeals notice in order to demolish 1780 Jarman Street.
Second. It's been moved by the Vice Mayor, seconded by Commissioner Hood, to concur with the Housing Board of Appeals' decision to demolish 1780 Jarman Street. Is there anyone here from that property to address? Okay.
I had some questions for staff as
Right,
well.
but could we start out with the staff report, Chief? Or be available for staff questions?
Yes.
Vice Mayor?
Well, a couple things. This kind of came to us last minute, so I'm wondering if there's an emergency situation involved. And the other thing is, I am familiar with this house, but our notice here says it's on Apple Avenue, but 1780 German's between Larch and Dale.
I don't have the paperwork in front of me, but I can tell you this. It has gone through the process it normally does, where obviously the house was identified as a abandoned, dangerous abandoned building. It went to the Housing Board of Appeals, thus being forwarded to the commission now after all the notices have been served. And the reason it came as a last minute, and I'm sorry about that error, if need be, we'll have to take it back and fix that. But the reason it did not go on the normal consent agenda is the fact that it was allegedly missed. We have, our clerk is gone this week, and I talked to the assistant clerk, and she talked to me this afternoon about putting it on there, and we felt that was necessary to get it on there since we'd missed it, simply because when these notices are put out and time spans are driven, they need to follow the process in a timely manner. We felt that it needed to get here as Hope Mitchell had wished it to be today.
As a follow-up, I guess, it appeared that, I mean, I've been looking at this house for a while, that it was being renovated. And maybe this is something that if the homeowner or the property owner is available, they could answer, but, I mean, what happened? Did they not did they just stall out and there's no progress? I mean, I know it takes a lot for it to get to us.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and review that case, why it didn't, but I'll tell you one thing, if there were permits pulled and then the work ceased or stopped, Generally, you know, our inspections department of the past and Safe Build will try to follow up and jumpstart these people. And I can only imagine the reason they're not here today, or, you know, this is in front of you, is simply because everything has stopped. And we have sent the notices and got no response.
Okay. Yeah, and I will say this, if the person's here, and for anybody who's watching this, you want to deal with this at the Housing Board of Appeals level, because I'm always troubled when I see that the Housing Board of Appeals was held and the person didn't show up. You don't skip that and then come straight to us, because 9 times out of 10, and closer probably to 99 out of 100, we're going to concur with the Housing Board of Appeals. So if you have reason to think that you have extenuating circumstances, you really want to deal with it at that level. That's those are my questions.
Thank you. Any other questions for staff while Chief is front and center?
Is the owner here? Was it?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
And if you would like to come up and address the issue, we just need your name and your address.
Linda Jones, 1780 Jarman Street.
Okay. My question is, what is the holdup of pursuing, you know, progress with the property? I've seen on here and read that the property has been broken into several times, tools were stolen. So just give me a little history of what's going on and what's the delay.
Basically, we've been working on it 2 years. It's got a full brand-new roof, all brand-new windows, brand-new flooring, brand-new stairwells. We're held up on the electrical currently because somebody did break in earlier this year, and they stole all my tools, ripped out all the wiring, and I'm just waiting for my taxes.
Could you say again what was repaired so far? I'm sorry.
Everything except for the electrical. I have permits pulled, everything's inspected. Everybody came in and inspected my house in September, and they just gave me a list of things to continue on, and I told them at that point I was waiting for my taxes. And then I get this letter. So, it's just frustrating.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
As I look at that September inspection list, you're indicating that you're waiting for your income tax return to finish the job. A couple things come to mind. One, why was there no follow-up to the notice to appear at the Housing Board of Appeals?
I was at work. I had to take the day off work today to be here.
Okay. Well, you would have gotten a lot further if you'd taken it off on December 5th.
Well, I didn't think this was gonna be the outcome since I've, you know,
The
I've
notice
been
and
on
order
time.
says very exactly what's gonna happen. Again,
I thought that they were just gonna
if
give
you've
me a
got property,
timeline.
that's the meeting you want to go to. But I'm concerned because, I mean, there's some things like drywalling and painting and so on. But then you get to, the house must be wired.
There's no wire in the house completely at
ele-
all.
Well, it needs to be wired to code according to our inspectors.
Correct. I took all the drywall down, took all the insulation out, and
Right.
prepared to
Do
where.
you have permits for that?
I did, they expired.
Okay.
I let them expire because I
It-
did not have the money to continue.
It indicates that the electrical service, in addition to the wiring, the electrical service has to be replaced, and that
Yep.
the plumbing and mechanical work still needs to be done. Those are pretty high-ticket items.
The plumbing and mechanical is at rough-in stage, so all I have to do is finish the electrical and then have them come back and inspect it after the drywall is on.
Commissioner
If
Germain?
those inspectors were here, they could.
Is there a
Sure.
timeline, and did you indicate that to the inspectors? Also, are there contractors that you've spoken to that could get in and actually move this process along
We're-
within a timely manner?
We're doing it all ourselves.
Oh, you are doing it all yourself? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's electrical as well?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Any other questions, Commissioners? Commissioner Johnson?
Are you pursuing any financing outside of waiting on your income taxes? It looks like, according to estimates, about $15,000 to follow through on all the repairs. Are you looking at lining up any kind of financing outside of your income tax, or is it going to be a matter of you're going to use your income tax to do these renovations, and then if you're not done, wait, to next year for income taxes, or is there any financing?
I'm
that
getting
you're pursuing?
$8,800 back in taxes already, and that should get us in the house, I'm hoping, and then moving on from there. Because I'm paying for another house right now to stay in, so once we're in the house, I can put all my money into
So
it.
you intend on living in this house yourself and your
Yes.
family?
Yes.
When was the last time anyone lived in this house?
Probably 8 years ago. It was vacant when I bought it. There
How
was
long ago
holes-
was that when you bought it?
3 years ago now,
3
maybe
years
2.5.
ago.
There was holes right in the roof, right through it when I bought it. Every window was broke out when I bought it. I had to put new water service from the road to the house. So there was more than I thought.
This has been a problem for a while.
How much have you put in the house, would you say?
At least $12,000 each year.
$12,000?
Mm.
Each year or?
Each year since I've purchased it.
Since you
Every
purchased it.
income tax I put in there, every dollar that I have extra.
Commissioner German?
Is there an inspector in the house?
Right now, I'm speaking for the inspections
Okay.
department. We weren't prepared to actually come today. Like I said, this was put on the last minute. But I can reiterate what staff has forwarded in
Mhm.
this document. The fact that, maybe take the microphone. It's just the fact that the owner is here today. Staff has, did an inspection back in September, and a dangerous building inspection was conducted, and they made a list, which is in our packet. Then the staff corresponded, the dangerous building, okay. The notice in order to repair was issued on 11/01 of 2013. Then on 12/5 of 13, the Housing Board declared the structure substandard and dangerous. At that meeting, we had the inspectors, I was there, and as she just stated, she wasn't able to come because she was at work. The problem is, then later on, it's about owner contact. No permits have been issued and no inspections scheduled. Sounds like she's done a lot of work, spent a lot of money on it, but there's been no permits pulled. That's according to staff. And so whatever work's been done is done without permits. And even if you do it yourself, you have to have permits and you have to deliver basically a plan to us so the inspectors can look at that and give you the okay before you start. So I'm seeing a lot of problems with this structure, and we've contacted them 3 times with no response until this evening, which puts us at a disadvantage.
Vice Mayor?
Well, anybody who's watched me over the years know I'm not shy about having blighting structures removed from the neighborhood. And normally I would be urging all of you to vote to demolish here, but under these circumstances, and by these circumstances, I mean, we just got this, I haven't had a chance to poke around and look myself. I'd like a little bit more detail on, has work been done without permits and all that kind of thing. I would be more comfortable if we tabled this usually we do 30 days, a second meeting in February, and that way we can have a more complete staff report and get some answers to some of those kind of questions. And to the property owner, I would just say, if you don't do things according to code, if you're not pulling the permits and stuff like that, a lot of times that's money wasted. Because in order for you to get a certificate of occupancy, in many instances, the money you spent, you're gonna tear that stuff out and have to redo it to meet code. And so it's always best to pull those permits first and make sure those plans are approved first before you start spending lots of money. And I know there's a few people up here who've done some major home improvement projects over the years, and we can tell you, it's always best to go and talk to inspections and pull your permits and go that route. But, yeah, I'm just a little uncomfortable because this came to us at the last minute, and there's some unanswered questions there.
So specifically, the questions you want answered would be, are there permits pulled?
Or at least have there been that were expired? Was the work that's done to this point actually up to code? Or is what's there gonna have to be redone? I think we need a little more accurate picture as to what's really going on here. And I'll be honest to the property owner, I mean, the idea that over the next few years, you're gonna chip away at this isn't fair to your neighbors. I mean, they're looking at a house that is in, you know, been pretty rough for a long time, and I know you've only had it for 3 years, according to what you're telling us, but it's been empty and a problem in the neighborhood for longer than that. I know it's come up at the neighborhood association meetings before, so.
So you're making a motion to table that?
Oh, I was just informed by the clerk, apparently, goody, we're not having a meeting on February 25th, so we'll have to pick a different day. So would it be the first meeting in March would be better? Okay. Apparently, there's an election that day.
So you're looking at March 12th?
I think 11.
Oh, that would be our work session.
No.
No, it would be the
March
next
11th.
city commission meet, regularly scheduled city commission meeting.
Oh, yeah.
If it's the 11th, it goes, starts on Monday. It's confusing. It's the 11th, is a Tuesday.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yep, February 11th.
Oh, we're looking at February.
Oh, yeah, I thought you were looking
Uh,
for March.
Yeah, I thought you were pushing
Oh,
out to
you're
March.
right, March. Well, it would
February is
be the
Tuesday
same.
also.
March 11th.
March 11th, right?
That's a work session, the 12th, the meeting?
No, the calendars start with Monday that are up here, so that's not a Sunday.
Oh,
So
I
it's-
see.
It's
Monday
there to
is
mess
the
you up.
10th, yes. So it is Tuesday, March 11th.
Where did we get these calendars? Okay, so it'd be March the 11th. So you,
I'll make a motion if there's no other questions or debate that people want to have, because once we move to table.
Second.
Well, I'll
Okay.
move to table to March 11th then.
okay. It's been moved by the Vice Mayor, seconded by Commissioner Hood, to table this issue until our next commission meeting to be held Tuesday, March the 11th.
No, it's not the next commission meeting.
Then
To the
ne-
commission
to-
meeting
to-
of March
To
11th.
the commission meeting of March 11th, thank you. Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Rinsema-Sevinga,
Yes.
Commissioner Turnquist,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Mayor Garland,
Yes?
Commissioner Hood,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Spataro,
Yes.
Commissioner German.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Ms. Jones, in the interim, if there's, you should make contact with staff about anything that you can start doing between now and the 30th if possible. Is there anything that she can start doing legitimately?
Yeah, I just confirmed that the information on the sheet is correct for her for contact. I will make sure that Safe Build and Hope Mitchell get that information and get the ball rolling.
Okay.
And whatever she can do between now and March 11th, which we could, because February 11th would be kind of tight, but
Right.
March,
Right.
there's a lot more time to, if we can work something out.
Okay,
And-
thank you, Chief.
And
Thanks,
that
Dan.
means you need to contact the inspections department by the end of this week. Get that ball rolling,
Okay,
okay?
Good luck.
thank you.
Thank you.
Any other business from the commission? Vice Mayor?
Well, as we've all noticed, it's been snowing. Yeah, and we've probably all gotten our share of concerns expressed. Couple things, and I've shared most of this with the manager already, from mostly downtown property owners. We're getting snow plow spray onto the buildings. I don't know if that's something that can be addressed, but it, you know, and we understand that there are certain terraces that are very small and you're gonna bury the sidewalks, like on Apple. But, you know, when it's hitting people's doors and windows and stuff, I don't know if that's something that can be addressed or not. Another concern that keeps coming up, and I've explained to everybody who's called, that we don't slow plow between 2 AM and 6 AM anymore, and so the old parking ban wouldn't affect people parking on the street during the day when we're actually plowing. One gentleman who spoke to me at length yesterday wanted to know if it was possible to require people to actually use their driveways. And I don't know if we could legally do that, but I said I would certainly see if that's something that could be done, but in the interim, as good neighbors, if you do have off-street parking available to you, like a driveway, as a good neighbor, please clear your driveway and put your car on there so that the plows can clear the street. I know that's an issue in a lot of our neighborhoods, and I know that for various reasons, and there are many, that people may not use their driveway to its fullest capacity. But when we're having this kind of snow level, it really does benefit all of your neighbors if you clear your driveway and use it to put your car so the snow plows can clear the streets. And we understand some people don't, and they have to park on the street. But anyway, those are my comments. I appreciate it.
Very good. Anyone else? Commissioner?
My question is something of concern, and it has to do with email that I received for reassignment of committee.
Yes.
Actually, I received email, like all the other commissioners, about reassignment of committees, community relations chair as well, and also spoken with a couple commissioners about a chair that I was chairing, the community relations chair. And I wasn't informed, but I did get that email, and I did speak with those commissioners, and it was kind of somewhat undecided on what to do. But my question and concern is pretty much, after I learned this, a chair that I was appointed to and voted to by the commissioners, and I was just wondering, is it the best practice to appoint another commissioner to a chair who is already occupied, and before that chair is actually, filled as tenured, as well as that position, or having to submit a letter of resignation or express interest of stepping down?
On these, all these appointments are mayor appointments only. The commission didn't appoint you, okay? You weren't at the work session, but I had indicated at that time that I would be making reappointments in lieu of the fact that we had new people coming on board and kind of spreading the talent and the wealth. In November as well, after one of the CRC meetings, I'd indicated at that time as well, seeing as how you were on multiple committees, that given your schedule, especially with grad school and stuff like that, that I would be, after the elections, probably shifting some of the workload. So these are strictly mayor appointments. They're not tied to a full tenure of any sort, and adjustments are made, at any time. But this was, given the fact that we had the election, new individuals coming on, spreading the workload, and again, placing people in positions that I think everybody is very good at. You're gaining that experience and that know-how on the zoning board of appeals and the like, maintaining you there. But with new people on board, putting them in to, start, picking up some of the load and spreading the talent.
Okay, and the concern was because I wasn't involved and included in the conversation, but I did hear from other commissioners who was, very, wasn't sure of what to do about stepping into that position. And I figured that, more communication and more transparency would have been, a little bit more better, so everyone can kind of be on the same page. Because,
Sure.
So.
Sure. But yeah, like I said, as you weren't at that work session, you missed the
Due
fact
to
that I was
illness,
going to make the rearrangements and then notify individuals. Okay. Commissioner?
Yes, because I was under the understanding that Commissioner German had already been talked to about this. And I guess he wasn't, because he just now finding out when he got the email.
Well, the implication of him back in November was to do some adjustments.
But you told me that you had spoke to him about this.
In November. about the
Well, not
possibility.
personally, I never spoke to you.
Oh, yeah, at
No.
the end of this dais, after a CRC meeting.
I don't recall, Mayor, but, you know, hey,
But, you know, I may have not been specific, but I said that, you know, given workloads and new people coming on in and the like, and it's been par for the course or routine where the mayor will do annual adjustments and then make the notifications. It's strictly routine.
okay, I just wanted to get some
Mm,
clarification
sure.
on that. Okay,
But, okay,
all right, thank you.
you bet. Anything else? We have a request to speak, Mr. Jabbar Thomas. If you'd like to approach the dais, and please give the podium and give your name and address, sir.
My name's Jabbar Thomas, I stay at 261 West Larch. I've been here before about my water situation. I went to the water department, and my situation is that it was a leak in the ground, and the water valve was broke. So that caused water to still come into my house and stuff, and it's over there on my taxes. And we really need to sit down and get to the bottom of this, because I feel like I don't owe this. You know, it went from $181 and now it's all the way up to $1,800. And I just moved back in the house January of 2013. So this is something we really need to get to the bottom of, so this can get off my taxes off and over there. You know, I don't owe this. You can look at these pictures and see that they tore my whole front yard, you know, to fix the problem. Paper right there, the guy who said it, it shouldn't be my fault. But something that they pipe was broke underground, 6 feet under, you know. And I shouldn't have to eat that bill.
Right, you've been before us before, and
Yeah,
and
didn't nothing happen.
after your third or so visit, you know, it was determined we weren't going to take any action at that time due to the fact that
Yeah, that's why I'm back here today.
I don't think your
And I
situation
got new
is...
stuff right there showing that I'm not responsible for that, for something that broke on y'all behalf that they had to replace. Them pictures right there clearly show it, and that note, they had to tap my yard, and they had to go on the street and tie the whole street up. That's not my fault. When nobody in the house was empty, vacant.
But the last presentation showed that the
I
leak
can't
that we were
control y'all
dealing with
valve,
was
though. Y'all valve that's under the
at your
ground.
source at the house, and
I can't control that. If your valve break, it's like if I take, when BP oil spilled, they had to pay them people off the Gulf. They didn't charge them people because they pipeline broke. That's y'all fault that broke. That's not my fault. Now you trying to charge me for something that I had no control over. From
Mr. Mayor?
Vice Mayor.
I believe this is the fourth time you've been here on this issue. I know we've seen pictures of the work that was done to repair the damaged water turnoff valve at the curb the last time you were here. I don't know if these are different than those pictures, but we have seen pictures of that work. And as I recall, that what was established at that time, and what most of us know, is that the water meter's inside the basement. So damage to the valve at the street would not affect your water bill.
It do.
What only affects your water bill is what actually enters the house through your water meter. That's where the bill comes in. So there could be 1 million gallons rushing down the street into the storm sewer, and that doesn't affect your bill. It has to be the leak.
The thing that go down
the water
to
usage
the
has to
thing that y'all
be.
control to cut the water off and on was broke.
Right, that has
That's
nothing
y'all
to do
fault.
with your bill.
If your machine break, you telling me it's my fault?
The machine in question is your
Your
water meter.
machine broke, not me.
The water meter is inside your house.
Wait, excuse me, what that paper right that I gave you?
The
That one?
water meter is inside the house.
That little paper right there, the guy wrote it on there. Y'all machine malfunction, that you turn the water off and on, that broke.
Right.
Right.
That
That ain't
doesn't
my fault.
determine the bill.
Okay, hold on, Commissioner Hood.
Jabbar, Mr. Thomas, I'm sorry. When you spoke with the city manager before And didn't he come up with some type of settlement or in between? You took off so much off your bill or something?
They ain't did nothing. It's still laying over on my taxes. That's why I'm here today. I just left the water place on Keating. The dude broke down. What's the problem? They valve that go down in the ground that you turn, the screw on it that was broke, that cut the water off and on.
Okay. What I guess my question is, did you ever get the, because I know that city manager and water department came up with an agreement to take some money off your bill.
Ain't nothing. It's still $1,800 over there, sitting on there. I just left the tax place last week talking to Tony there. It's still sitting there. They thing in the ground was broke, that you cut the water off and on that you turn. That's not my fault. I can't control that. Without their machine being broke, water couldn't come through there. They machine stopped the water from coming through. If they machine was fixed, couldn't nothing come through there. You know, that's not my fault.
Question. Oh, Mr. Thomas, okay, I did sit in on that meeting with you and the city manager and the director of the department. Now, the agreement that we came up with, and when they agreed that they would take the responsibility on a certain portion, and you would take the other responsibility.
Yes.
Have you made any payments or anything toward that payment that you agreed upon, or has anything been taken off or your bill?
I just left Tony them, ain't nothing took off that thing, it's still at $1,800. They telling me if I don't have that by March, they go take my house.
If we can get some staff input.
Right.
Mr. Thomas, if you just step aside just a minute. Mr. Smith, if you'd like to fill us in.
As I recall, it was roughly about $850 that was placed on his tax bill about 3 years ago, I believe. And he's saying now $1,800. That's probably additional fees that have been accrued after the taxes went delinquent. Because as you know, under the state statute and city ordinance, once a water utility bill, that's municipal water utility bill, gets delinquent beyond a certain point in time, which is in our case 90 days delinquent, it can be spread to the property taxes, which it was 3 years ago. And at that point, it becomes a tax. So it went out on the winter tax bill 3 years ago. If it's not paid by February 14th, it's late, but it's not delinquent until it gets turned over to the county treasurer, which is March 1st of that year, that tax year. And as such, it's been now, what, over 2 years?
It was $181.
That was the 1 year, sir. That was in 2009.
Yeah,
And
ain't
then
nobody been at the house.
2010.
When nobody at the house. If y'all machine wouldn't have broke, the water never would have been leaking in the house.
Well, back up. As a property owner, you're responsible for any valves inside your property. So you should have valves, at least one or if not two, inside your property. So you wouldn't need to have to turn those off.
As the city, man, y'all responsible for the water that's come through y'all valve too. Y'all
City
part
maintains-
malfunction. But
city-
y'all part, that paper that's gone.
Okay, let's back
Y'all
up.
part malfunction, not
As
mine.
indicated before, the
Mr.
water
Mayor?
that
Yeah.
passed through your property.
I
inside
would
your
just
house
point
is
out
water
that
meter.
he did provide us a picture of the water meter inside his basement. So the only water he was charged for is the water that passed through this meter to the rest of the house. Anything that happened outside the structure would not have affected this meter.
Correct.
Would not have caused his water bill to
But
be
y'all part was
charged.
broke that made the water come
And that was
through.
established during the
During the previous
investigation and our
meetings, we
previous
got a
meetings.
staff report on
So-
this some months ago.
And as part of the settlement that Commissioner German sat in on that last meeting
Exactly.
with Mr. Thomas, former city manager, and the former finance director, and myself, part of that settlement, as you may recall, was the fact that there were hundreds of units of water that had not yet been billed to Mr. Thomas based
Right.
on the water meter reading inside the home.
Exactly.
And that was over another $800-something plus dollars that
Right.
would have been billed to Mr. Thomas. So as a resolution to the matter, the city manager offered up to not charge Mr. Thomas for that.
Correct.
So,
Yep.
so it had gone to meeting, it had come to some type of resolution and agreement.
Now, how you gonna charge me for some of your part malfunction?
We're not. you were charged for what was coming through your meter and not
If your
for,
part wouldn't have never malfunctioned and let the water go through there, I wouldn't be here. You can't charge me for something that was your mistake underground. Your part broke, so how you gonna charge me for something that your part broke? You supposed to eat that. That's like if I go to General Motors and they break the oil pan bolt off of my pen.
Mr. Thomas,
They ain't gonna charge me
Mr.
for
Thomas,
that.
it's the same answer that you had during the mediation was that equipment that broke out on the city lines would not have entered your house.
Yes, that thing do that. That they knob that they put in the ground, that long thing to turn the water, that's what broke.
That
That's
brings the water to the house. What holds it out though
It's on-
is your meter.
It's on that paper right
And
there.
that was established
It's on that paper right
in
there.
that. So were there any
Y'all
other
part
questions
malfunction.
at this point?
If y'all part wouldn't have malfunctioned, it wouldn't be like that.
Excuse me, Mr. Thomas. I can attest, I had the same situation when I bought my house. There was a leak on the outside, water was coming in, but it wasn't going through the meter. It was coming into the basement, my sump pump. My electricity bill went up because the sump pump was pumping the water out, but my water meter did not get charged for the water leaking on the outside of the house. So I had a similar situation as you did, but it didn't affect my water charges. It was just a matter of the electricity pumping
Yeah.
the water out.
Yeah.
So I
They
can just
set up valve that system.
share my own experience that yes, it was on the outside of the house like
Yeah,
that, but
they
it
valve that system
didn't get
down,
charged
long
through the
water
meter.
come in the house broke. They situation broke to make the water come through. So if they situation malfunction, what he wrote on that paper, they can't charge me because they part broke down. You see, they had to tear my yard and the street. I shouldn't have to be forced to pay for that.
Yeah, but
It ain't nothing, y'all shouldn't water it down. I shouldn't be having to forced to pay for that.
May I ask a question of Mr. Smith? The resolution was made, and I heard an agreement was to knock off some money. Was that money knocked
Well,
off?
the knockoff was to not charge Mr. Thomas for the additional water usage that was actually
Okay.
registered on the meter, which meant it had passed through the house and the meter itself, and there were several hundred units of water and sewer. So that would have equated to roughly 800 and some odd dollars in additional cost that was not billed to Mr. Thomas, that technically should have been billed to Mr. Thomas. but was
At the
not.
time of that tentative agreement, was it a payment plan then?
No,
come up
because,
with that money on that?
because all of this was a lien, it was a tax lien. It was part of his property taxes. So they were already delinquent at the county, and he needed to work out payment plan with the county treasurer.
Okay. So we did what we could on our end after the investigation established what had occurred. You had a question for?
I just had a question, and maybe Mohammed answers this question. What was actually wrong? You say that piece was broken, the water shut-off valve was broken. I thought I saw Mohammed over there. Is that something we fixed, or?
Yeah,
So
I
do you know
believe it was-
what was wrong with it?
It was a
Stuck
curb
open?
cock that was stripped or broken, maybe.
It was broke that allowed water to still come in my house. That was 6 feet underground.
And Mr. Smith, at that time, after the resolution and the meeting that was taking place with, and we did supply him with the service of water at the
We
same
did.
time as well.
We did, and in fact, we told him to come in with his ID, he could sign up for service, which he subsequently did do that.
Okay.
So as far as the taxes, his route, that would all have to be dealt with the county treasurer.
Correct.
So,
But this water needs to get took off of there, that's not my fault. If your machine malfunction underground, how am I responsible for that? If your machine don't malfunction, water can't come through there.
Mr. Thomas, there was no problem with the meter itself, and the water
I'm
had
talking about y'all
to
thing
have.
that was in the ground. It's on that paper
But
right
it had
there.
to go.
I just left there.
But what you got billed for, Mr. Thomas, was what actually passed through your
But
meter
regardless-
inside your
yeah, I know,
house.
but regardless of that, if your part don't break, water can't come in there.
Mr.
Your
Thomas,
part broke, not mine.
Mr. Thomas, you've been through the resolution process at the city level. As far as the taxes are concerned, you're going to have to approach the city treasurer. You've gone through an arbitrating type
Tony
of,
told me to come back over here.
or the county
Tony
treasurer.
told me to come over here, that's why I'm over here. He said ain't nothing they can do. He said that's something y'all got to take up off there. If nobody ain't living in the house, and water coming in the house, if y'all part when it never broke 6 feet underground, you can see they tore my whole yard up in the street.
Somebody had the water on in the house.
Ain't nobody had no water on. Y'all part malfunction. Your part malfunction, man, that's not my fault.
I guess my advice to you would be to go back to the county treasurer and ask him why some property owners in arrears on their taxes are offered payment plans and installments to catch up, and apparently you weren't. Because that's where you have to deal with this now.
That's not the
We've-
city park though. That's not they Tony them part over there. He just sent me over here. I ain't know nothing about this meeting.
The money that is on your taxes is what's owed. How you pay it is between you and the county treasurer.
How is that old when y'all park malfunction? How
Well-
I gotta pay for something that's y'all fault though?
Mr. Thomas, we already established last year that water wouldn't be coming in from our malfunction part.
Sugarcoating this shit, man, it's bold, and it ain't right. That's bullshit.
Are there any other members of the public that would like to address the commission? If not, Commissioner Hood.
If there's nothing else, I move to adjourn.
Second?
It's been moved by Commissioner Hood, seconded by Commissioner German to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
Yes, after that.
Someone from Bluffton came.